Night, and welcome to Heller Barnes. And of course, today we have a fantastic guest. Joe Hempel's with us, and so Joe, welcome. Glad to see you here.
Hello.
And
Thanks so much.
we have a last minute cancellation here. Johnny's actually um, had something, and he went and had a doctor's appointment this morning, and they weren't happy about something, and they want him to take some other tests. And so he's off at a hospital getting some tests done just to make sure that everything's fine. So I don't know a whole lot of details. I mean, he should be in great shape, and I'll let him talk about that next week. But I knew he had a doctor's appointment today, and we had cleared that, and he was going to just be right on time. But he's off to get some testing done. So anyway, so so we're talking here. We'll have a great time.
Excellent.
And
Yeah.
Joe, you started off in this thing doing children's books, if I remember right. Is that close?
Not even.
And how long? First, let me give some background here. So first, I messed it up with the promo stuff, which is not Joe's fault. It's my fault. He said to me, he had mentioned to me, I said, "Hey, how much stuff have you done?" And he told me, he said 700 books, and I misinterpreted it because I was in a hurry. My fault. And I said he has published 700 books through his publishing company, because this guy does too much for me to keep track of. So I'm going to let him explain to us. You have two companies that you work with, that you started, and one of them does book publishing, and then you have narration, and then of course you're a narrator. So just so people know, even though I messed up the publicity, I think correct me if I'm wrong, you've narrated over approximately 700 books, and
Yeah.
then in addition to that, you have there. So let's first get the narration right. You've done 700. Is that close?
I am starting my 700. I started my 700th book last night.
Okay, so I guess that's close to 700. So all right, so I had the number
Yeah.
700 right.
You had the 700 is correct. Yeah. I
Okay.
started book number 700 last night.
All right, so you're a total beginner at this, obviously.
Yeah.
And so, all right, and I know one of the things that came up in conversation before, somebody had asked, I think you started doing royalty share initially, and how is that correct? Close? I mean, how did
That's
you
correct. And
start?
I
How
still
long
do
ago was
royalty
it?
share. I started 10 years ago. Little over 10 years ago. 2015, I think, was when my first book came out.
Okay.
And it was I don't know how I got hired after doing that first book ever again, but yeah, I started 10 years ago with that, and I started doing royalty share. Basically, I was a book reviewer, and I was a big fan of horror. And once I got, you know, reviewed something poorly, and somebody said, "If you think you can do so much better, why don't you do it yourself?" Um,
Wait, you
so I
were
said,
reviewing,
"Okay."
you were reviewing an audiobook or
That
a
was
print book?
excuse me, audiobook.
Oh, okay.
um,
So,
and so I said, "Okay." And there wasn't a lot of horror audiobooks out at the time, and that was what I was a big fan of. And so I reached out to all of my author friends that I were reviewing and things like that, reviewing their books, and said, "Hey, why don't you let me do this?" And they said, "Okay." And so I, from there, acting classes, audiobook workshops, networking, all of that stuff that at the time I was super introverted, and that stuff kind of scared me. Now I'm as extroverted as can be, and it doesn't matter. People give me energy now; they don't drain me.
right.
Uh, so I started just building a library of royalty share titles, and
And making
after about
millions.
after about excuse me, after about 2 years, I started making more in royalties than I was in my full time job, and so
So you're
from
not one of
there,
those that says royalty share is a total waste of time. Is that correct?
that's correct. I will never say that.
So how did that happen though? Because now you're going to have people watching this.
Mhm,
There are people that are newer, and they've tried a
mhm.
couple royalty shares, and they've
Yeah,
gotten a negative return on it, and
yeah,
that's kind of norm. I mean, that's just the norm, isn't it?
yeah. So royalty share is It's a slow game. You're not gonna earn out every book. It's not gonna happen. It is the very definition of the 80/20 rule. 20% of your books are going to make 80% of your money.
Okay.
That's you can't look at it as individual titles. You have to look at it as a giant conglomerate. If you're looking at individual titles, you will be very, very sorely disappointed.
Right.
Um, and for those that are just coming in, they want to get their feet wet and oh, I have to, I'm never going to do this because it's not worth my time. You don't have anything on your portfolio to show. Do some good books. Get stuff on your portfolio. Let people know that you know what you're doing. Probably an unpopular opinion, but you know, there are times where I will get auditions and I'll have to go back and say, "Hey, you're not ready yet."
Right.
So,
Well, here's the thing, though. I think a lot of people, now you're getting to see it from both sides because
mhm,
obviously you're narrating, you're in the trenches, you're doing it.
mhm,
And then at the same time, you're running two companies.
mhm.
One of them does audio, one of them does print books or like ebook. Was that correct? Correct me.
Yeah, so I run Fright Night Audio,
Okay.
which is a horror audiobook company. If you if you Google horror audiobook publishing, Fright Night Audio comes up as the leading horror publishing audiobook publishing company. And then I'm one of the owners of Wicked House, which is an imprint under Athon. And Athon is a massive fantasy lit RPG
Right.
and fantasy publisher. So, excuse me, me and an author friend who's a great author, Andrew Nyberg, we both are partners in it. And we do ebooks because we're a digital first
Mhm.
publishing company. We do print books as well. Like they're not in stores, but you can buy them through KDP and Amazon. And we do audiobooks as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So
So
you get to,
generally we try to sub license those.
so now, so what I send in an audition to you and,
Mhm,
I'm new and I have no portfolio.
mhm.
Does that mean I'm automatically how does that, what kind of impression does that make on you?
It doesn't automatically disqualify you. I've had people with very little experience come in and knock an audition out of the park and do well on the book. And we're happy to give new narrators their start um, with good titles. But on the flip side, I have had a new person come in, absolutely kill the audition, and the book was completely unusable. And so I would pay them for the book and have to pay somebody else to actually do
Redo it.
it for a something usable.
Wow.
Um, so we have to be very careful. Chances are, we won't after basically losing a lot of money on that.
Yeah.
We're
Burned
more
once.
careful on who we bring in. You
Yeah.
know,
And also,
um, but not having an audiobook out if you have a good sound, like your space is good and you're able to connect with the material, we're not going to pass you up just because you don't have an Audible book. There are certain titles where it's like, hey, you have to have a minimum of 20 books
right.
because it's a higher profile author.
Right.
But other than that,
Yeah.
any per finished hour title that we do, you do have to have a minimum of like 10 books anymore, though.
Yeah. The thing is, in this day and age, there's enough people that have some experience and they've built a
Mhm,
portfolio, and
mhm,
it's harder to take a chance on somebody. I assume now, what do you look for? So I send you something, you've never heard of me.
mhm,
I don't have any known history.
mhm.
What kind of questions what would you be looking for in my background that would give you an indicator that I could probably get this right?
Honestly, if the audition was good enough to reach out and you've connected with the material, your sound quality was really good. Um, if you don't have any credits, we would ask for a longer sample
Okay.
before we'd approve it. I didn't do that in the past, got burned
Right.
for brand new narrators. we're going to start doing that.
Yeah.
So
Does it help if I say I've done community theater, or if I have a background in acting, and it's acting tangentially, or some adjacent type thing, does that help?
uh, not really.
Because I either nailed the audition or I
You
didn't.
either nailed the audition or you didn't.
Okay. So,
Yeah,
by the way, I've been on stage about 400 times, and here's my crappy audition. That
yeah,
doesn't help?
yeah. That's no. Like, great. You sound like Max Headroom.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah, and I noticed that you haven't called recently for you. Uh, so, Lisa asked here, she wanted to know, you learned to be extroverted. Were you treating it as a skill set, and then it became fun over time? I mean, how did that? First off, I don't know that many people who are introverted who learn to be extroverted, and except for stage, I do know plenty of
Mhm.
actors. I live here in LA that are definitely introverted when you meet them and talk to them in person, and then they're massive on stage, but not
Mhm.
necessarily in person. Is that kind of your background? How did you build that
I
skill set?
it's networking events.
Well,
You know, my first networking event was an interesting experience because I was just very kind of like stand up against the wall. I want to observe everything. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to be seen as some weird, awkward kind of person. And I had a few people come up to me, and it kind of got me out of my shell. And then lots of alcohol. Um,
that's that's a time tested. Yeah.
and then at that point, it really, outside of just networking events, just something kind of clicked that the chances of me meeting strangers ever again in my entire life, talking, whatever, are so slim
Right.
that who cares? It doesn't matter. You know, when you realize that nobody actually is looking at you and saying, "Oh my God, look at that person,"
Right.
like nobody cares.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Uh,
You know, you can open up and you can be yourself and you can let everything go.
yeah. And the other thing for people that are newer, having met Joe once at some event, I don't want to
Mhm.
say it means nothing. No, it could mean a lot. It could be an entry point to then build the relationship over time. But I'm going to guess you're at that same position where you meet somebody, and if they don't reach out to you within some reasonable time frame, the odds of you remembering, especially if you're at an event anymore, um, sometimes I don't remember somebody, but I don't want to say 2 weeks later, but certainly 2 months later,
Yeah.
I can't recall. I know, are meeting tons and tons of people. Do you have that same
Mhm.
experience, or are you remembering everybody? You a better person than me? It wouldn't be hard.
I remember. I do actually remember a lot of people if I meet them. um, Social media, I chances are we'll have
Right.
an interaction, and I won't remember who you
Yeah, and plus, you notice that in my profile picture, I look a lot better. So
are.
in person, you're like, "Woo, you could use some work. Maybe you should go to that Hollywood makeup store
Yeah,
there."
you're in LA.
Yeah, there's a few places I could get some work done. Um,
Yeah.
so, what criteria do you look for when you're deciding to narrate a royalty share book that you believe would be a valuable revenue stream? So, how do you pick? I mean, first there's
How do I pick?
yeah,
So how do I pick? I look at excuse me, we have been sick for like 3 weeks, and so it's been insane.
but you have a young
Um,
child, so for everyone should know as a young one, and that goes with the territory of having
yes.
a young. So you know what? We've all been through it, so no stress.
um, so what do I look for? I look for one, what's the author's social media presence like? Do they interact with people online? Because there are many people that will not buy an author's book unless they can interact with them on social media,
Wow.
especially in the indie space.
Okay.
There are people that actively go out and say, if I can't interact with you online, I will not buy your book.
Wow.
Um, that's minority, of course,
But still,
but that social media presence really helps. Um, what are their reviews like? If a book has come out 4 years ago and it's still getting reviews regularly, and it's not just because it went on sale or they ran a book bub or something like that, um, that's a good candidate. Does it have a good cover? If it doesn't make money, will it be attractive on my profile regardless?
Okay. That's that's got to be
That's
a
a
big one
big
if you're
one.
new too, correct?
That's a big one because you get all of these books. There's so many new people that, oh, I just want to get my feet wet. I'm going to do these 3 hours, these 3 hour, like, how to grow cabbage in your garden,
Right.
you know,
I've done that one.
for dummies or something.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it, it's going to do nothing for your profile. It's going to tell me that you don't know what you're doing yet.
Right.
So I'm not going to look at you. Like I'll search you on Audible and,
Right.
like it's not going to do anything and it's not going to make you any money.
Well, and also
um
it's a different time. I mean, I have to admit, when we started, I'm go back about 14 years on this. There was a time you could do those things and get your feet wet, and that quote unquote, okay, that would help me build my portfolio, and it would give you something to show off. But
Mhm.
times are different now. There's just too many choices out there, so you have to have good
Yeah,
books and good covers and good
and
stuff.
not only that, so much AI is kind of infesting the
Hmm.
area
Yeah.
and in our in our group that you have to be careful. And all of these 3-hour books are AI books. And
Right.
if you're narrating AI books,
Right.
I'm not, you
The
know,
audience is not there. They don't want it.
the audience is not there. They don't want it.
Right.
Despite how often it's being shoved down your throat, the audience doesn't want it.
Right.
So that's how I choose. And does it always work? No, it doesn't. But
Now,
that's okay because the book was fun. It has a great cover. It goes on the front page of my Audible when it's released,
right.
so people can, see that.
And no, so one of the things that Lisa and I look for are authors that have done series or that they're working on. They're they're not just one-off authors. If it's their first book, they probably don't have a following, and they
Right.
haven't learned to build an audience yet. If they've already been building a series, and sometimes multiple series,
Mhm.
authors that are really into it are like narrators. Joe's done 700 books. You know how many series he's done? I have no idea, but I'll bet it's more than one. How many?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm part of I don't know how many series.
yeah, okay, but
I have a romance series that's like 30 books long at this point.
right. Okay, but
So,
that means, so here's the
but
thing.
yeah.
If you can be with an author like that, that means that if you ever did a royalty share on one of the early ones and they continue
Mhm.
and build 30, now later back end sales on that are pretty interesting, I assume.
Mhm.
Correct? Incorrect?
It can be. Yeah, it can be. Anytime an author puts out a new book, there is a little bump in the backlist royalties.
Okay.
So it's not going to be a ton, but there's a tiny bump that's, measurable.
Okay. Okay.
So, getting with an author and staying with an author and forming that relationship is really great. I mean, you can be in my and this is my experience. This could be different for everybody else. Um, my experience is the relationships come first, the work comes second.
Smart.
And I spent time and I networked even before I was a narrator. I networked with authors. I didn't have to audition for my first few books because I already had that,
So
and
where
they
would you
they
send
trusted
somebody
me
new
enough.
today to develop some of those relationships? I mean, how would they do it if they aren't already in the game?
Facebook groups, reading groups, um, conventions. Um, I'll go to conventions. I'll talk to authors. Um, you know, and I'll go to conventions to finally meet some of the authors that I've narrated for.
All right.
You know,
Yeah.
um, we've got a big comic palooza here, and Clay McLeod Chapman was there as a guest. This year, Matt Dinneman is here, Dungeon Crawler Carl. But I've narrated one of his books called Kaiju Battlefield Surgeon, and we've met before, but I'm
Right.
going to go down that way, and we're going to get together um, at at the event to say hey, and it's important that you build the rapport with authors. You can't just say, "Oh, I want to do this," and jump in with 2 feet and expect success, and then complain that you don't have any success because you didn't do any research and then build up your, any sort of knowledge in the industry. So I see so many new people go into these Facebook groups, get sage advice from people that are multi audio award winners, audiophile winners, beloved in the industry, and they'll be like, "Oh, you don't know what you're doing." Okay.
Yeah. Well, I see it too. And of course, anybody who's listening to this, we're preaching to the choir because these are the people that are working on being better, or they
Yeah.
wouldn't waste their time with talking to me anyway.
Exactly.
I mean, so, and Sherry asked this question. So let's say I want to be on your roster. Okay.
Mhm.
So what's the best way to submit a sample to you and get on your radar?
I have open auditions.
Yeah.
So just go to frightnightaudio.com. I don't have a lot of auditions right now
Mm-hmm.
because right now my focus is building up Wicked House
Mm-hmm.
and getting that print publisher off the ground. And for those audiobooks, we sub-license out to folks like Tantor, Blackstone, Podium. Like we sub-license those. So you'd have to be on their roster. But but for me, it is if I have an audition up on Fright Night Audio, then it's you can send something. I think I have one up that's expired, so don't audition for that now. But there's another one coming. I think it's for mail though.
Well, yeah, but so how about, can you provide perspective for us? If you put up an audition,
Mhm.
on average, does it get two auditions or
Like
40,
30.
30?
No, I'd say an average is 30 to 40 auditions.
Okay. And how long does it
Yeah,
take for those to come in from the time you post?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay. So
I
if
usually
I'm,
put them up for 1 or 2 weeks. Yeah.
okay. So if I see you have an audition up, I should wait and get a perfect audition that takes me 2 weeks to figure out, correct?
No, no. It's just I know people are busy. People are busy. Sometimes they won't see it. I want the auditions to reach the most amount of people. And I will say Fright Night 99% of the time does royalty share.
Okay.
So, and then we're a bit different because we don't go through ACX. We pay via PayPal every month. Starting, we're a month behind on from ACX. So once you do the book, it's out. It gains royalties that month. We start paying you the following month.
Cool.
um, but I will say we sell on average this month so far between all of our titles. It's roughly 70 books a day right now. So
That's
um,
actually, that's crazy when you do the math over a month and a year. So, but you've
mhm,
been building that over time. So you have an
yeah.
audience that knows you. And
Mhm,
I assume that once something comes out, anybody who does get on your roster and works their way in and becomes that, when you put out a book, you've got the multiplier effect. You've got the author, you've got a
mhm,
niche that people know you in. So even a new
mhm,
book has a chance to do a
yeah.
lot better than if I'm
Mhm.
doing a random one that's on ACX, I assume. Correct?
I I would go so far to say if you want to make money on royalties anymore, going to ACX to audition is a terrible idea.
Okay.
Um, those book, 10 years ago, no.
Right.
But now that the industry has evolved so much, going to ACX and auditioning for royalty share is a bad idea.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If you think you're going to make money. If you see a good cover, it's a good story, you connect with it, do the book, get the experience, get it on your profile. That's what's going to pay you in the future.
Right.
So, there are, I will say, I will say though that coming soon, um, so Wicked House is a print publishing company that we acquired from somebody else.
Okay.
He wanted to sell it, so he has an entire backlist that he didn't do audio for.
Oh,
Those are going to be going on ACX.
okay.
Those are going to be going on ACX. So they're great covers, they're incredible stories, and for those you there's a chance that some could make money. Um, that being said, I've done a few before I took over, and outside of doing them for Podium or whatever, I probably made $50.
Right. But it was for whatever you liked the book, you liked
Mhm,
the cover, you thought it looked
mhm,
good, and you
mhm.
said this is an investment and it may
Yeah,
work, and you don't know which. The other thing is, I don't know how have you had this experience? We've had books where we thought, this is bound to do great. Ah,
yeah.
you
Oh,
know,
absolutely.
yeah, this one can't miss, and it's like, and
Excuse
it's
me, yes.
and then we end up, the payout on it is like $200 over the first 6 months.
Mhm.
It's like, well, that what? Because the author did not at that point do their job, both promotion for whatever
Mhm.
reason. And we can't move you can move the needle more now. There was a time where we couldn't
Yeah.
couldn't move the needle. Now, so we've also had the other thing happen where we've had one that just started and sat there for years, and then something happened, and all of a sudden
Mhm.
it's like, what the heck's why did this come in?
Yeah.
And then we go research and go, that's a book that's like 10 years ago, all of a sudden started selling. So they must have done something, gone to a
There
convention. Who knows?
yeah. There was a title that, we just published not too long ago. It's like maybe a 3-hour title,
Hmm.
and wasn't sure how well it was gonna do, and the first month, it maybe sold, like, 20 copies,
Right.
something like that, but then all of a sudden, like, the next month, it sold 400 copies, and I'm like, What happened?" And the author was like, "It went viral on TikTok,"
Okay.
and I'm like, "Oh, okay." I've also had the reverse happen, though. I did a book that was just gonna be fun, it was silly, did it on royalty share, didn't expect it to make any money, got an Audible daily deal somehow.
Oh,
Sold 3,000 copies in 1 day.
wow.
Eh, okay.
Yeah, but
So
but that's where so today, if you were starting out, you're trying to get to your first portfolio that say has 50 books,
mhm.
100 books, 200. What do you think is a reasonable number for people to kind of in their head say, I need to have a couple hundred, I need to have 40. You have any feel for that kind of thing?
I don't. I did over 125 books before I got onto a publisher roster.
Okay.
But that being said, even when I was working full time, I did like a book a week.
Well, you're a worker.
So
That's a lot.
yeah, I had the same philosophy. There's a guy named Kevin Pierce who is the royalty share king. Um, he said I had a business plan and it was either going to succeed or the explosion was going to be so big you could see my failure from space.
Okay.
And that is the mentality that I took. And so yeah, I just made it happen.
Yeah, which means you put off other things short term, and
Mhm.
you said, okay, after work I'm doing, and I'm going to get a half hour a
Mhm.
day of
Lots of
finished.
sacrifices.
Yeah,
Yeah, lots of sacrifices to make it work.
right, right,
Yeah, I'd say don't expect to make money your first 2 years in this industry.
okay, and yeah, and if somebody gets lucky, then fantastic. So,
Exactly.
Chris had a question here. Have you
Yeah.
ever been ripped off by a royalty share author? I'm not even sure what that means.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know what that means.
So, Chris, go ahead and what do you mean by ripped off? Um, yeah. So, um, So Lisa's saying here it must be challenging to balance these various activities because one, now you've got two publishing companies. How do you structure your time?
Um, Generally, the way excuse me, the way my day is structured is I have a list of things that I need to get done,
Hmm.
and then I rip it up and throw it away and just wing it. Um, that's been my entire career. Is I
Okay,
just
but
wing
that
it.
works for some people. So what? That's,
Yeah.
you know,
Um,
some people need a task list that they go one, 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 one. I mean, top to bottom, and
mhm.
they never deviate. That doesn't
The
sound like
only
that's
thing
you.
that is a the only thing that is a must get done is I have to record 2 hours. I have to get 2 hours done every day for audio. And that's and then 1 hour done Sunday and Saturday. I work 7 days a week.
Okay.
So, unless I'm on vacation or I'm sick, I work 7 days a week.
And how long would you be in the booth, or how long does it take? So you get 2 hours of two 2 hours of finished audio done per day, or you work 2 hours of recording?
2 hours of finished audio.
Okay,
And that's raw audio, not edited and mastered. That gets
right.
sent off.
But so that takes you two hours and 10 minutes, or that takes you
About 3 hours,
okay.
3.5
But you,
hours.
yeah, after 700 books, that doesn't surprise me. Okay.
So, right.
Yeah.
Um, there's a yeah, and you're gonna as you do more books, like everything, it's practice, and you're always evolving. I'm always learning. The book I'm doing today sounds different than a book that I did 2 years ago.
And you mentioned earlier something about acting. You were already an established stage actor when you started. Is that correct?
Only if you count WWE.
Okay. I know
I
you.
worked for the WWE,
Well,
so
so just so people, well, some people will not know what that is, but I understand that you were a referee.
as
Is that correct?
I did production and I was a referee. So when at the place that I was at, we were a developmental territory way back when
Hmm.
for WCW, and then they merged with WWE.
What's WWE for our audience that doesn't know?
Professional wrestling,
Okay.
WWF.
Okay.
So I came in about the time John Cena made his debut. That's how long ago. So
Okay. And
yeah.
you, so you did that for a little while. And were you
hmm
doing that still when you started off doing your audiobooks?
no,
Okay.
no. I had been out of it for probably 3 or 4 years
Okay.
at that point.
But you, so let's see, we got another question here. So Lisa says, I've been seeing stories in the Facebook groups, authors breaking their contract after accepting the delivery and going to other platforms. You run into any of that? You're probably in a whole different.
I
That would
haven't.
be that would be a new author or a new, because man,
Mhm.
what that really, reputation, from a reputation point of view, that author's gonna have a hard time finding narrators in the future. But because
Yeah. If yes, I think they would have a hard time finding narrators. I have not run into that. Um, I'm never one to require a deposit. I do payment plans with authors, and their book could be on sale before they're done paying for it. Never had an issue with an author not paying me.
okay,
Um, I've never had that. Whether or not that's because of where I'm at in the industry now,
right,
I don't know if that plays a part in it, but even early on, I've never had an issue with an author.
yeah. So do you send them work as you go, or do you get the whole thing done and send it to them all at the end, or how do
Like
you?
it's, I just, I don't have time to send them as a go. Like, just let me cook. I'll give it to you. Then we'll deal with the rest.
Yeah,
Because by the time you finish listening to it, if you're even going to listen to it, most authors don't anymore.
right,
On my end,
right,
if you're going to listen to it, I'm 2 books ahead already.
right,
By the time you get back, I don't have time. I'm scheduled for 50 hours of audio a month, so
right.
right around there.
Yeah. I don't think the new people understand that as you build trust over time, you get to a point where your authors don't have time to go listen to their whole book note for note.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah, they'll
if they're
trust
working
me.
their craft and they're working on
Mhm.
their next book, which you hope they are, then
Mhm.
they're not going to be sitting and micromanaging the audio at some
Right.
point. They just,
Right. I have one author, I've done like 50 books for him.
hmm
Well-known fantasy author, um, who I'll send him the finished product. He will still proof it and then send me like 3 or 4 changes that he needs,
okay,
that's been missed from the proof, and he's like super word perfect. Like
okay,
if it doesn't, if you say, "Look at this," instead of "Look at that," he'll want you to change it even though it doesn't change.
the
And
story,
that's not something a lot of even production houses do,
right?
you know. Um so yeah, we'll send it to a proofer. It gets, I'll get my pickups back like 50 or 60, whatever. I'm pickup heavy. And then then he'll proof it and send me like 3 more. So,
Okay,
but
but
he's really the only author that listens to anything.
okay, but so yeah, one out of every
Yeah.
700, that's okay. Uh,
Yeah, I'm not worried about it. I have a great relationship with him. He's an incredible guy. So,
yeah.
I don't mind doing it for him.
Well, that's the thing is there are some people that you don't mind because of their attitude about the whole thing, and some
Mhm.
people it's like, really, you want that changed? I mean, that doesn't make it any
Mhm.
difference to the story. I do think some of these authors don't realize that the listeners, they don't understand like how somebody like me reads, who I'm okay at reading. I mean, I'm, decent, but if there's a word in the story that I don't know, I've skipped over
Mhm.
thousands of words and just gone, yeah, whatever. And I get the gist of what's going on. I'm not going and looking up some word. So I've
Right.
changed, in my head, I'm changing their accent. I'm changing I get everything wrong. And I still like the story because I'm getting the big picture of it. I don't need every detail to be exactly whatever some author had in their head. I mean,
Exactly.
they don't get
Exactly.
that. So, recommendations for somebody who's kind of mid-level. So I've got my 10 or 20 in my portfolio. How do I
Mhm.
expand and grow this thing?
I think at that point, networking. I think you always got to be networking to some extent. Get to industry events. Um, get to the naughties. Get to um, any sort of narrator workshop. Especially if they have casting directors there.
Right.
So
I think uh,
that's what I would. That's what I would really start doing.
I I think you and I met in a Facebook group. I mean, originally we ran across each other.
Originally, yeah,
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 because we're both old. We're not
yeah,
both old. I'm the old one.
yeah.
I mean, but we're both
So
mature in the business. Um,
yeah, you really helped me out a lot early on in my career as far as getting things set up with things like Studio One and RX and some of the tips that you've provided. Like you really helped me get set up and sound better than I had any right to sound.
Well,
So
thank you. I didn't remember. I knew. I've no. Like I don't remember when I don't remember you. Sort of meaning like we've crossed paths so many
right,
times
right.
over the years that in this business, I do remember life before you. Don't take that the other way. Um, but I don't remember being in this business and not knowing who you are. And then I think the first time we met in person was probably in New England. But
Probably,
but
yeah,
but I get it mixed up anymore as to
so
where.
long
But
ago.
but that's the point. So you're out and going to enough stuff that I can't always remember where I crossed paths with somebody, but I know I
Mhm.
have. And then they're on
Right.
social media and you've been there. I know you've been, I mean, we've just crossed paths hundreds of times there. And sometimes I don't comment on something that you might post or something, but we still see each other and they're there.
Yeah.
Now, what other things? So I know Facebook. Where do you see things going? What else do you monitor? What other social media are you doing these days?
I really don't look much outside of Facebook groups.
Okay.
Um, I don't have Twitter. Um, I'm on Instagram
Right.
sparsely.
Right.
Um, Blue Sky is my social media that has nothing to do with books.
Okay.
So that's really it.
Yeah. But you can't do
Um,
everything.
I keep an eye. You know, Generally, if something blows up, it'll get screenshotted and put on Facebook. So I'll see the important things. Um, I'll watch for up and coming authors. Like I'll kind of see who people are talking about as far as up and coming authors. Um, I have done a few books for a guy named John Durgan who's up and coming, and he's going to make waves in the future.
Now, how do you
And
identify someone as what's your definition of up? How do you notice? Like, I mean, hey, Don sends you something, and I'm up and coming, or
so we have again, it's what's the buzz about them? Are more than 3 people talking about them? Like, do you look at what are the recommendations? Are they getting listed in the recommendations by a lot of people? Um, what kind of reviews is he getting if he has a book out? If not, if he doesn't have the book out, um, what kind of following is he starting to garner on social media?
right,
Um, I actually didn't declined his book when he asked me to narrate it for royalty share because I didn't like he was almost there, but I was like, I don't really have the time.
right.
And then the next narrator said, "Oh yeah, I'll do it." Sat on it for 6 months,
Oh,
and I said, "Okay." He came back to me, and I'm like, "I have a slot open. I'll go ahead and do it."
wow,
I did the book, and it sold 5,000 copies.
wow. Okay, so your sense was right at the beginning that he's almost there, and then,
Yeah,
but that came from. I'm gonna guess though. How long ago was this? Ish.
um, that's a good question.
I mean, the last 2
Um,
years, the 15 years,
no,
5 years.
um, actually sooner than I thought. Um, 2023, so 3 years ago.
Okay.
3 years ago. So 4 years ago is when he approached me.
Now, I can't imagine some narrator sitting on somebody's book for 6 months after saying, "Yes, I'll
Happens
do it."
all the time.
It really?
Happens all the time because they'll get per finished hour and they'll prioritize per finished hour of the
Okay.
royalty share and things like that. I get that. I understand that.
Right.
I have put royalty share titles off for per finished hour. It becomes more important when you're full time because you got to eat.
Right.
Um, and many authors know that their books are going to get pushed aside sometimes.
Mhm.
But comes if it starts to become a habit,
Right.
then that's a little bit of a problem. I waited a year for a book once.
But does that mean that the narrators have to learn to say, "No, I'm sorry, I'm too
Yeah,
busy"? Is that the
they
problem that
do.
they're trying to fill in their calendar and
I think the problem is they're trying to fill in their calendar and then something that pays the bills comes along.
okay.
Um, and it's difficult because it's feast or famine.
Right.
That mentality. It's hard to have a, an attitude of abundance in this kind of industry because I know people that have been doing this for 10 years that aren't booked all of a sudden,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And so it's hard not to.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, so what flags should I look for to determine whether a book is AI generated? Chris is asking this. Do those books sell?
No, those books don't sell.
Okay.
They don't sell. Generally, you can, as far as flagging for AI, if it has an obviously AI cover, or if the author is putting out a book every 2 weeks,
Right.
things like that. As far as writing style, I am not a writer, so if you put something in front of me, I'll look at it and be like, "Wow, this is very poorly written," but I wouldn't be able to tell if it was AI.
So yeah, if you look at my native writing, you'd go, "Oh, that's not AI, and that's not very good." Okay, but we'll leave but we'll leave that. I'm one of the few guys where you'd say, "I think you should use AI," but we'll leave that aside. Uh, as a new narrator, so Nailed it, guys. I like that name, by the way. That's a cool name. As a new narrator, what do you think is the best way to get your work out there without feeling so look at me, look at me, look at me? Any good Facebook recommendations that are welcoming about this?
Unfortunately, that's the nature of self-promotion.
Yes.
Um, I would I wouldn't if somebody's like, "Hey, I'm looking for narrator recommendations and stuff like that." I wouldn't go on a post and say, "Oh, I'm a narrator. Here, look at me." I would message them privately.
Yeah.
Because that to me is the equivalent of, "Oh, what's a good horror book that, is about shipwrecks?" And somebody comes on and says, "Well, I'm biased, but I think this book is very good." And it's their book.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, you really
it's
want
kind of
somebody else to
gross.
say, go look at the book that I wrote. Yes, you want
Yeah.
that third party is definitely a whole lot
Yeah.
better.
And it's okay to self-promote your own work on your own feed and things like that. Unfortunately, that's the nature of self-promotion, and you do have to do it to get out there.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
and so, your best bet, in my opinion, is to go in as a fan. Just go in as a fan of the genre you wanna narrate in, communicate with the authors and the readers and the listeners, and don't go in looking for a job.
right. I essentially
People
go
I
ahead.
say people wanna work with people that they like.
Yeah. I, I I will say this about being around Facebook groups for a while, and this applies to any social media. If you it on LinkedIn, there are times where I just say, "Oh, cool, congratulations." Um, you know, as opposed to saying, "But by the way, I have a solution for you." You just
Mhm,
you need to be out there if you're going to pick
mhm,
your whatever your social media is.
mhm,
You need to be part of that community to where your name is not the first time they've heard about you is when you're promoting that I
mhm.
can solve your thing, especially publicly. If you
Yeah,
privately message them, that's one thing. But
yeah.
publicly to go out and say, "Oh, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it."
Mhm.
That's the look at me part. But on the flip side, you do have to do some self-promotion.
Yeah.
It's not optional to just sit around and say, "Boy, I hope Joe notices me. I hope Joe, will you, Joe? Hey, Joe, I
Mhm,
hope Joe." I mean, he's not going to notice me at all if I have no presence, but if I am out there in the
mhm.
groups and answering questions and assisting,
Yeah.
then that does pay off over time. But that's
It's
another longer term game that people don't understand.
yeah. So it is, and, you know, they say it takes 10 years to become an overnight success.
Right.
And, for me, that happened a few years ago when I narrated Ronald Malfi's Come With Me. And, um, if you look at I think it's my banner picture on Facebook right now.
Hmm.
That was at a really, really big author convention last year. That is every s that picture was almost every author that had a table at that convention.
Wow.
Almost every but that's everybody I have worked with in horror.
I've seen that picture. There's probably 20, I want to say there's 25 people maybe.
Something like that.
Okay.
But it was large enough to have, the photographer get it, and that's everybody I either published or narrated for. That's everybody in the horror convention, and that's some of these guys I've been friends with before I was a narrator and I was just a fan.
Okay.
So, it's this is a very long game. You see the success of a lot of people, and a lot of people wanna fast track to that,
Right.
but that's you can't.
Right.
You
Well, you
can't.
can
I
get
think
lucky. Well, you can
I
get
have
lucky on
one
one
s
book, but that doesn't mean a year from now you're going to have any work.
Mhm. I have one student
Hmm.
who is right now making waves in narration in the horror genre. Um, and he's now working with a lot of the guys that I've worked with as well, and I will go out of my way to recommend him because he's good and stepped up, and he's been only doing this for a year. Um,
What does he
maybe
do that's
yeah,
special that allows him to, get that kind of position? Because you don't
he's a
call me.
fan.
What's that?
He's a fan of the genre.
Okay.
He was a reader and a fan of these authors before he even stepped foot in the door.
So he had in his head the right. He started off with an advantage. Like, I mean, I wouldn't know anything about the genre directly. Um, what but he started already knowing what it should sound like because I assume that means he also was listening to audiobooks in this genre
He
for a
was
while.
yeah, so he is he's one of the proofers for Athon.
Okay.
So he listens to audiobooks for a living.
Okay.
But it's not horror. But he
Yeah.
was such a fan of horror and the genre that he was a fan of all of these authors before he was a narrator. Excuse
Right.
me. And people can tell if you have real passion or you're faking it.
Shoot.
So
Now I'm gonna have to stop. No, it's yeah, no, and I think that's absolutely, and people are looking for people that are into it. I mean, first off,
yeah.
like my my wife does all this other stuff. She does not do there's no way she's a great actor, but I don't want to say she couldn't do a horror, but her heart
Mhm,
isn't in it. So
mhm,
that's going to come through at some point, and
mhm,
she just there's stuff that she's smart enough to go. I'm not doing that one. I'm over here in this other lane that I really like and I enjoy, and I
mhm.
like the. I mean, I assume how in the world you were listening to all this horror stuff? How'd you get started in horror? I don't want to. I mean, were you as a youngster you were
I've been
watching?
reading horror since I was 5, 6 years old.
Okay, so you had good
So,
parents.
yeah, yeah. My dad and I, when I was, like, 9 years old, we'd go down to the community store, and we would rent, like a Betamax or
Yeah.
something like that. I remember, and we'd watch, Basket Case, Reanimator. We'd stay up late watching, Poltergeist, things like that, just the early '80s, late '70s, early '80s stuff, and we would stay up late and watch it, is what me and my dad would do.
Yeah, but that's cool. That's great. But that's also why, later this is the one you're doing. And it is probably for everybody else out there, maybe you're not into horror, but hopefully
Yeah.
you're doing the genre or a set of them. First off, do you recommend somebody new tries a bunch of different ones, or do they go for the one that they already know they like? What are your
Go
thoughts
for
on
the
that?
one you already know you like, that way you know you're gonna like it. Like, there's nothing sometimes this job feels like a job.
Well, every
Um,
yeah.
I've done books that are absolutely atrocious, and it feels like 9 years that I'm in the booth.
Okay.
And then I get out and it's like, "I only recorded 20 minutes?" You know? Eh, but you have to act, and that's where your acting comes in. You have to be invested in it. Um, but if you're starting out, you don't want that. You want it to be fun. So go for the genres that you have a passion for.
So tell us about the acting thing. So you backfilled, I assume, like in a sense where you get into
Mhm.
this and realize, ooh, this would be a lot easier if I had some acting chops. Is that close?
Yeah, I didn't have really any acting stuff when I started. I did it for a few months, and um, I finally got with Sean Pratt, and it changed my entire view of everything. So
So do you recommend acting classes for newer narrators and older narrators? And
I recommend it for everybody. Yeah, new narrators, veterans. It's always good to stay on top of your skills, notice what trends are out there. Um, you know, I'll I'm not just saying this because he's a good friend, but Joel Frimpkins acting for audio,
Hmm.
you will not find a better course than that out there. Is it expensive? Yes. Will you make your money back after you finish his course because you're going to get hired? Yes.
Okay. It's called
And that's
investment
that's
return.
that's new and experienced alike. And he has a 2 levels of the course. So,
And he's a good
yeah.
guy.
Oh, he's a super good guy. He's a super good guy. He has a passion for this industry like nothing that I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's cool. That's really cool. That's really cool. Well, as we wrap up here, can you tell us about the cool things that everybody should go out and pay attention to that you're doing, and that you either have coming up, or that you're passionate about, that you want them to know about?
Excuse me. So, um, I did the novelization for the Return to Silent Hill movie. Uh, so that just came out recently. If you hated the movie, I understand. The movie was objectively bad. The book is better.
Okay.
It fills in some stuff, and it allows you to it allows you to see the visuals rather than a pasted on beard. Um, so that I was excited about that because I'm a huge fan of the game series. Um, and then Wicked House Publishing has some amazing books coming out. Just sold a bunch of rights to Tantor. Um, so we're looking forward to all of that. I think we have scheduled releases for Wicked House for the next year already.
Wow. That's cool.
So, and yeah,
And you're on Facebook, obviously.
I'm on Facebook, not as much
Right.
anymore.
Right.
I just don't have the time anymore.
Yeah, I get it.
Um, but yeah, I am on Facebook. Um, yeah, other than that, just enjoying working and
And you're a new dad again. I mean, I know you
doing
have a
things.
young,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I've got a 16-month-old. She's wonderful. Um,
that doesn't take any time, in my experience.
it's why I work at night mostly.
Yes.
Like I'll go to bed at 3 a.m. and thankfully Victoria sleeps until 10 a.m.
Okay.
You know, and so my wife and I, Maria and I, we get to have our alone time kind of at night and things like that, where we can play games, watch whatever we want to watch.
Yeah.
She's a proofer now for Athon as well. So while I'm working, she's working, and we're both stay at home.
There you go.
So it's really great. It's really great.
No, congratulations on being a young
Thank you.
dad. That's super cool. Love that. And for those of you that are out there, thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like this. Be sure to make comments afterward. That's so helpful, and pass this around to other people.
Mhm.
Reach out and see. Don't send 400 messages to Joe this week. Okay.
Yeah, but feel
Over
free to reach
time,
out.
find out where he's at, find out where he hangs out, find out what things he goes to, and have him see that you're interested in the same things that he is. That's a really great way over time to work your way into his cycle, his orbit. And one of the coolest guys. I mean, like I said, I just don't remember being in this business and not knowing who you are. And we've crossed paths so many times. So thank you for being a
Yeah,
great guest.
absolutely.
And
Thanks so much, Don. I always enjoy being on here. I'm going to say one last thing before
uh-huh.
we leave, though.
Yeah.
I don't know that I believe you about Johnny Heller. Every time I'm a guest, something happens and he disappears. I think it's me. I
I
think he just doesn't want to be on here with me.
I do think that might seem that way. He has a legit. This is a this we hope. I mean, he's going in for some testing, so they were uncomfortable with something when he went to
Yeah,
the
no,
doctor
no.
today.
I
So this time it's
all love to
real.
Johnny. I'm a big
But
fan. He's a good friend.
yeah, I know he's a good guy, and I know behind your back he was excited to be here and to participate, and just didn't work out today. So what we'll do is we'll have you be a guest when if somebody can't make it, we'll have you back when he's here.
Sounds good.
You'd probably have a better time talking to him too. All right, so All right. Well, everybody, have a fantastic week. Check out Pre-Read if you haven't already. And I look forward to seeing you on the wires. Have a great day. See ya. Bye.